with everyone. You've ever had one of those days where everything seems to be kind of going a little bit nuts? Take my earbuds out. And that seems to be today. So the yard man's here and he's making some noise outside my window. Everything has been delayed by a few hours. So it's a very interesting day. And what do you do? How do you handle things that disrupt your schedule like this? Do you run to the refrigerator, the snack area? Do you go get a glass of wine? How is it that you handle the stress, which is a topic that is not about today, however, can affect today's topic? Scales of justice. Yeah, those darn bathroom scales. How do you react to the number that you see on the bathroom scale? And how to use it differently, not only the scale, but how to use your reaction differently to support you rather than create an enemy of the scale in your weight loss. If you're not sure who I am, I'm Vicki Griffith with Breakthrough. I appreciate anyone who shares this video, someone who thought that this might be something you'd like to hear or needed to hear. So thank you to them. Thank you for all of those that watch. And for anyone who is on live, I do have my comments open so you can say hello. I may have to slip my glasses on and off to read the comments because right now they're all blurry. Again, one of those situations today that's kind of like a little awkward. But beside all of that, let's kind of jump in. So scales of justice, enemy or supporter. Now for professional dieters, people like myself, the scale normally was the enemy. And I don't know how many people will say, I'm going to the doctor's today because the first thing that they do is weigh you. And I'm so excited about getting on the scale. I also find it rather amusing when people want to take off as much as possible when they get weighed. I have a little program that I take to events. It's a bathroom scale. They step on it, they push a button on this program. And instead of telling them their weight, it tells them something amazing and magical about them in a very powerful word. One of the words is powerful, but it says beautiful or stunning. And there's about 8 different words that comes up randomly for that particular person. And they're so shocked and bewildered that a scale would actually tell them something positive about themselves rather than their number that they feel usually very negative about and have a negative experience. It's really interesting how we have in our mind what we're supposed to weigh. And a lot of times that's given to us through our doctors. They were through insurance charts years ago, which were incredibly, in my experience, unrealistically low. But we're always fighting against an image in our mind of what we think we should look like or what our body should look like, how much we should weigh. And the scales, in this case, tend to be our enemy. What's also very curious about the scales is people have rules around them, the time of day they should weigh themselves, the amount of clothing they should have on when they weigh themselves. You certainly don't want to be wet. Get your hair wet or just come out of the shower because that's a bad time to weigh themselves. So there's all these rules around how to make the experience the best as possible, but really all it does is stress everyone out. Well, I didn't weigh myself first thing in the morning while I was naked after I pooped. I weighed myself at noon. And I think that's a bad thing. It doesn't matter the time of day you weigh yourself. It doesn't matter how much or how little you have on. It's a consistency. That's really it. So if you weigh yourself with your clothes on every day at noon, then weigh yourself with your clothes on every day at noon. That's going to give you consistency. If it's 3 o'clock, then it's 3 o'clock. I threw away my scale because it did become my enemy. If I had gained weight, the barrage of criticism and judgment I would have never said those things to a good friend. Never. I would have consulted them. I would have said, yeah, you kind of went a little off your diet or your program. It's okay. You can do better today. But instead, it was, what's wrong with you? How come you can't do this? Everyone else can be thin. You'll never get this. You might as well just lead your life being fat and feeling ugly and feeling dumpy and sloppy and all of those words and lazy, all those words around the weight gain, even if it was just a pound. Now scales will actually weigh you by the ounce. And what's really interesting about the number on the scale too is we forget, unless you have one of those really super duper computerized scales that tell you how much your bones weigh and how much your muscles weigh, how much water you might be retaining that day, to actually be able to discern what your true fat in poundage is, rather than just your total weight. But most of us don't look at that. We look at the total weight and feel like we failed if we stay the same, especially if it's more than a few weeks at a time, or we've gained weight when we're in a weight release program. And those scales do justify a little bit what's going on, but the scale doesn't always tell you exactly what's going on in your plateauing or the weight gain. My husband and I were very fortunate to go to Cuba just before they shut down the last time. I've always had a fascination for Ernest Hemingway. I've been to his house in Key West. I find his lifestyle interesting. And it was the book, The Old Man and the Sea, that just took me on this journey in high school that I'll never forget. It was the first time I actually had an A on a written report, because the book just fascinated me, and then so did the author. He kind of lived an extraordinary life and lifestyle. And so now there's someone at my door. So this is what today's been like. And so what's happened is we got to go walk around the outside of his house. You couldn't go in anymore. But in Cuba, the windows were really big. And therefore, you could look and peer inside to what it must have been like for Hemingway to live in his home. And in his bathroom was the typical doctor's scale. And on the wall next to the scale was his handwriting with the date and his weight and an explanation as to if he'd gained or lost. I had 3 beers with my buddies last night and some chips. And I found that very interesting that even Hemingway was concerned about his weight. And he recorded it on the bathroom wall with an explanation as to why he may have gained a couple pounds. But I bet you get on the scale and you look at the weight gain and you don't give yourself that explanation that maybe you ate a little more salt in your diet yesterday, or maybe you haven't had a bowel movement in a few days, or maybe there's something going on hormonal ways that you aren't aware of, or something else that's going on in your body. So step off the scale and realizing it's not getting you a true picture without the judgment and without the criticism. If you have to, I got rid of my scale. I literally threw it away, because those moments of getting on the scale and being the same weight when I was desperately trying to lose some weight or gaining a few pounds just created more overwhelm and disparity and feeling horrible feelings about myself. So get rid of it if you have to. I recently got a scale, I think it was last year, because COVID, I wasn't going to the doctor's office, and that's how I monitored my weight. Once every 3, 4, 6 months when I went there and got weighed, I knew what I felt like. I also knew how my clothes felt. And I think that's probably one of the best monitors in any kind of weight release program rather than the scale. What is your clothes feeling like? Because truthfully, ladies, you have 3 sizes in your closet at all times. You have the ones you're wearing now, the ones you have just in case you put on a few extra pounds, and the size that you want to get into. So what's fun is feeling that size that you're in now loosening on your body and perhaps being able to fit into the smaller sizes. Recently, I had a client who just did that. That was her gauge and still is. And she would send me pictures. Look what I'm wearing now. It makes it much more fun. It kind of gamifies it. The brain likes games. It likes to problem solve for you, but it likes games. It likes to win at games. So use your clothing instead. If your clothing is a little too tight and you're refusing to buy the extra larger sizes, then it is time to do something about it. But don't use that against yourself. Use it as a motivator that you don't want your underwear to cut into your waist anymore, rather than a criticism that, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have eaten 6 donuts yesterday. How can your scale support you? If you can walk onto a scale, look at the number and go, that's interesting. Kind of like Hemingway with the notes on the wall. Oh yeah, I did gain a couple pounds. Well, I did eat XYZ. Your body's still trying to process it. Your body's still trying to metabolize it. And as long as you don't continue to eat that way and you go back on your food program as if it's your normal way of eating, then your weight will start going back down again. Your scale can be a supporter in that way, helping you have a more analytical look at what might be happening instead of a desperate look. Yes, it's exciting to see the pounds go down. There's no doubt about it. And please celebrate that. And please make sure that you're releasing weight without a severe amount of hunger. Hunger is a great signal. It does share that your body needs to eat, but most of the time we look at, last week was about physical versus emotional hunger. A lot of times we confuse emotional hunger for physical hunger. And physical hunger for me is a little bit of growliness, a little bit of emptiness in my stomach. And it goes on very, very slowly. So it will increase over a period of hours, whereas emotional hunger is like now, urgent now, need it now. And those are the differences. You also may be eating because you're thirsty. So you're a little bit dehydrated. So drink more water, especially, but unsweetened iced teas that are a little bit weaker, carbonated waters that are flavored without sweetener of any kind, those all count for me in my book as water. So is your bathroom scale your enemy or is it your supporter? If it's your enemy, hide it for a while if you can't throw it away. If it's your supporter, then also realize that it's just a piece of data. It has nothing to do about you, and celebrate those weight release wins without food. For me, with the bathroom scale, it was I had gained a couple pounds and I'm like, oh, I might as well go eat donuts. And if I let go of a couple pounds, I'm like, ooh, I can go get donuts. So how is the scale? What role is the scale playing in your life, the bathroom scale? And maybe it's time to think outside of the box and stop stepping on it and letting it determine your day, letting it determine your value, because you are more than that number, whatever it is. And I know you can release the weight. I hate it when people say, I know you did it. I did it, so you can too. I hate it when people say that. However, truth is you can do this. You can release the weight. Do you want it? Then let's chat. I'll have the contact information at the last slide. Please reach out, schedule an appointment, complimentary. So in the meantime, sending you all love and take care of yourselves.